Do you ever feel like manifestation is just another thing on your to-do list that you don't have time for? Like your spiritual practice is something that you have to do? Honestly, you're not alone because I felt that way too. Something that's really changed my relationship with manifestation is blending it into my lifestyle so that no matter what I'm doing, I'm also manifesting. I call this manifestation as a lifestyle, and it's single handedly made the entire manifestation journey more enjoyable for me. And I've seen my desires show up with a lot more ease. Manifesting as a lifestyle has made manifestation go from feeling like a task to something I just naturally do because it's who I am. If you'd like to learn more about this, I've created a step by step guide for you. I'll link it in my show notes so you can check it out. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Affirmation Addict podcast. Today, I'm going to be diving into the concept of time and how that relates to the manifestation process. I think there's so many questions around time, like why do my affirmations and manifestations take so long? Can I manifest something to get to a specific deadline? And everything around time and how it relates to manifestation, I'll be diving into that in today's episode. So if this is something that you are interested in, I hope you enjoy today's episode. You're listening to the Affirmation Addict podcast with Payal Agarwal. This podcast will teach you about the power of affirmations while making manifestation easy and accessible for you in order to enhance your spiritual consciousness. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm so excited to dive into today's episode. Actually, wait, before we get started, I wanted to check with you. Have you heard about my new app? It's called Affirm It, and it's your one-stop shop for all things affirmations, manifestation, and self-healing. I really have been wanting to create something for you that truly empowers you to realize that you genuinely have everything you need within you. You don't need me. You don't need any other coaches. This app genuinely has everything you need to get that life that you've been trying to manifest. And it has gentle daily reminders, guided audio affirmations, sleep affirmations, affirmation reminders, and so much more good information, good energy, and so many things that I know will help you manifest your dreams. Because I'm so grateful for you, I'm actually offering you a free 7-day trial. And this is a genuine 7-day trial. That means you don't have to type in your credit card. You won't be automatically charged. There's no ads, and you get complete access to the app as if you've already subscribed to it. So if you do want to learn more about the app, head over to affirmation-addict.com/app, or if you're ready to dive in, head over to the iTunes App Store and search for Affirm It. The Android version will be coming soon, and as soon as it's ready, I'll be sure to let you know. Now we can officially dive into today's episode. Hey love, I hope you are doing well. So welcome to today's episode. And the thing that inspired today's episode is really holiday season. Me and Tom have been doing some holiday shopping and furniture shopping because we're moving into a new condo. And I noticed that it seems like everyone around me is just in such a rush. And it's so crazy because it just feels like everyone is in this vibe where there's just not enough time, whether it's right before Christmas, whether it's before a deadline they have to meet. Everything just feels like it's so dependent on time and that there's just not enough of it. And that, I think, really impacts a lot of us in terms of manifesting as well. So today, the whole topic is all about time and slowing down and how time is related to manifestation, because I do get a ton of questions asking me, what if I'm trying to manifest something before a certain date? Because we all have little deadlines we're trying to meet. And what if I need something and it takes too long? How do I know when it's going to happen? So all of that is based on the factor of time. And the really interesting thing is that time has absolutely nothing to do with your manifestation. Yes, I said it. Time literally does not impact your manifestation efforts at all. The thing that impacts our manifestation is the way we think about time. We're so fond of these deadlines, and we think that we have to meet all these deadlines because, yes, in a work environment and yes, in school, we need to meet these types of deadlines. But in terms of life, there are no deadlines. The reason this whole deadline thing really messes with us, especially when we're trying to manifest, is because we have that societal concept construct where we go to school, and then at the age of 18, you go to college. 4 years later, you get a job. Then 2 years later, you get married. Then 3 years later, you have kids. It's basically the societal pattern that almost everybody follows, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally. We feel the pressure to meet those deadlines. We sometimes feel like we're behind or that we're missing out on something, when in reality, there's no such thing as an ideal timeline. And a lot of people, when they ask me about manifesting things and they ask me about manifesting things according to a deadline, the first thing that comes into my mind is that deadline is such a bad word because it has the word dead in it. I feel like that is such an insight into how kind of heavy that word is. Not that death is a bad thing, but death obviously is the end of our life. But more so the thing that death and just deadness is just heavy and deep and empty. And I feel like that's what deadlines do to us. And I feel like the energy of deadlines is just so much pressure that it literally makes people empty on the inside. And so that's what I really want to dive into today, why time is so kind of heavy on us and how we can release that. And some of the things I do, some of the thoughts that I hold true to myself to help me let go of our habit of focusing on deadlines. The first thing I want to tell you is that in terms of manifestation, in terms of quantum physics, the only thing that matters when you're manifesting is your vibration. So that is the energy that you're giving off, and that's all. That's the only thing that matters in terms of manifesting. And if your vibration is aligned with your end goal, your end manifestation goal, then you're going to get that manifestation really quick. You will experience that really quickly. And that's a very, very simplified way of explaining the manifestation process. But that's the real deal, that I think a lot of us think that if we get things done quicker, if we take all these actions really quick and we just check everything off, that our manifestations will come quicker. And that's not true, because think about the vibration you're in when you're rushing and when you're trying to just do. We don't give our minds and bodies time to rest that much. So when you're in that mode of constantly being overproductive, constantly doing things, and never just having comfort and just sitting and having space and being just comfortable, I think that's what really stops us from manifesting. So I don't think that the whole deadline thing is the only factor. I think it's taking a step back. I think that we have a lot of issues in trying so hard to be overproductive. So I want you to reflect and ask yourself, what do you do when you don't have too much to do? Do you pull out your phone? Do you read a book? Do you turn on the TV? When's the last time you kind of just sat and observed? Maybe you're at a coffee shop waiting in line for your coffee. Instead of hopping on your phone and scrolling, what if you just kind of sat there and noticed? And what if you just got that second and got that few minutes to just tune into yourself and notice your surroundings and be a little more present? You're not being productive. You're not losing time. You're just being. And I think that's what a lot of us get confused. We get confused that doing nothing is just not productive at all. But in fact, doing nothing is still doing something. And I'm going to repeat that again. We think that doing nothing is just wasting time, but doing nothing is still doing something because you're still existing, you're still being. And I think that's what I really want a lot of us to take away from this, is that it's okay to just be. It's okay to not check off something off your to-do list and save it for tomorrow. It's okay if you're not constantly meeting deadlines or constantly doing something. It's okay if you're just here and breathing and just content. I think that's such a difficult concept for us to grab and even understand. Even for me, as I'm speaking this, sometimes I'm like, man, what does doing nothing means? Trying to put it into words for you, trying to give you examples. And some examples from my life, doing nothing is actually more like having no plans and then doing whatever it feels good to me. Maybe that does mean a little bit of scrolling on Instagram. Maybe that means cooking a cool meal with ingredients I've never used before. Maybe that means going on a walk. Maybe that means calling my mom and actually just talking to her without asking her for something in return and just checking in on her. Or even my dad and having a conversation about him, learning about what's going on in his life. That to me is a part of what it means to not just plan and and do things that are productive, but do things that are just existing and being. And obviously, some other things you can do to just be are things like meditate, journal, tune inwards, visualize, affirmations. Of course, those are all available to you. But I want you to kind of think of examples where maybe you have a day and just try this. This is what I've done is once a week, I plan nothing for my day and I just wake up and follow whatever my intuition is telling me, whether that means go eat ice cream or go to a coffee shop and read a book or even still work, but I'm not forcing myself. I'm allowing myself to. And it's really refreshing to not have a to-do list that's just staring at you right back in the face that's saying, hey, you need to finish me by today or you are unproductive. Basically, I think the to-do list syndrome is what I like to call it, is something that really puts a lot of pressure on us that we don't realize. It's amazing to have structure. I think it's really great to have structure. I'm a big list person, but I've also taken a step back and become a little more lax on that list because when I think about it, especially owning my own business, who is this to-do list for? It's for me, it's for my business, but sometimes I don't feel inspired. Sometimes I don't want to do those things and I have other things or other ideas that are inspiring me. And I think it's a lot more powerful to follow what inspires you rather than just doing things because you have to or you think you have to. So I would love if you just took a few minutes and reflected. You can pause it right here and reflect on what is your to-do list made out of? What are you trying to do every single day? What deadlines do you meet, knowingly or unknowingly? Because a lot of those times, those deadlines are actually getting in the way of what we're trying to manifest because we're not giving ourselves any space, any time to just exist, any time to be free. We're so planned out that we have no space for miracles. So the next time you think of the word deadline, I invite you to maybe rename it. Maybe call your to-do list your manifesting list. Maybe call your to-do list the it's gonna happen list. There's a lot of fun ways you can talk about it, but instead of to-do list now, I have like a thing on my phone that's called in my notes that's called the manifesting list instead of to-do list because I feel like it just lightens up the pressure of time and getting it done super, super quick because in this culture, it's all about productivity. There's so many productivity journals, productivity apps, and I'm all for that. I use those tools, but I also use those tools to schedule in space for myself, to schedule in breaks because I feel like those breaks are when I'm able to rejuvenate the most and letting go of that concept of I always have to do something or there's always something to be done because that really puts our bodies in a really high stress vibration. And coming back to the manifestation process, that high stress vibration is not good for you. That high stress vibration is going to be putting you in a lower vibration. High stress vibration is in those situations where you're being chased by a tiger, you're fighting for life, you're fighting off an illness. That's when your body needs that type of energy. Your body should not need that type of energy day to day. Your natural state of being is actually very calm and relaxed. But because of how fast-paced our world is, how focused we are on meeting those deadlines and always being super productive at work, even if that's just what your boss is telling you to do, it's putting us in a much higher stress environment, which in turn is just amplifying your vibration to a place where you don't want to be. So that's why I really wanted to dive into my thoughts on how deadlines don't really help us and a way to kind of integrate scheduling time for yourself, scheduling in some space and letting go of that habit of I got to get this done and I'm running out of time and there's always something that needs to be done, getting a little more comfortable with having some space and having some comfort being just who you are, just being, listening to your body rather than listening to your mind logically. I think it's really powerful to listen to what your brain is telling you and listen to what your heart is telling you. Not just, okay, I need to do this, this, and this because somebody else is telling me to do this or my job depends on it. Because in actuality, your job does not depend on it in all situations. Your boss will understand if you can miss a deadline by a few hours. And I know people don't like doing that. I know that might bring some people a lot of anxiety. It used used to do the same thing for me too, but I used to challenge myself at KPMG to not take things so seriously and give myself a break when I needed to, because I perform way better when I give myself those breaks. And I explained that to my managers and my bosses, and they actually implemented that in our teams. And so I really think that if you allow yourself to start picking and choosing your own beliefs in this area of time and deadlines and productivity, you'll be able to get a lot in alignment with who you really want to be. So speaking of which, I want to talk about just putting the pressure of time on your manifestation. So kind of going back to what we talked about in the beginning, where I said that it feels like we're all on this universal schedule that's unspoken of life events. So going to college, getting married, having kids, and the cycle starts over. So instead of feeling that pressure to be on that universal timeline, what are your manifestation timelines based off of? When people ask me, Pyle, I really need to manifest this, I need to manifest it within the next year, who's telling you that it has to be within this next year? What is it that's telling you that needs to be within this next year? Because time is actually just an illusion. Time is not a sense of it's not a measurement that the universe works off of. Time is infinite and time is unlimited, and time is multidimensional. It's not just one dimensional. It's not just past, present, future. There's actually so much more that goes into time, and it's a really deep concept that I honestly can't even wrap my head around, so I don't want to explain it to you wrong, but time is multidimensional, and that kind of dives into what people call parallel universes and experiencing deja vu. That's a really strong evidence of multiple universes and your body and mind being in multiple places at once. And I know that's a little out there for some of you, but just being open to exploring these ideas, even if you're not open to it, just being aware that, hey, there is evidence of interesting things out there, that time is not linear. Time might be multidimensional, and it doesn't have to be linear, because there's so much more that we don't even know. And I think it's a really good reminder right here to say that you don't know what you don't know. So we know what we know, but we also don't know what we don't know. There's so much stuff that's unexplored out there. And I know a lot of my science-based people are going to come back to me and say, well, time is linear. This is proven. This is a fact. But also there's a lot of things that are proven and facts that I personally have defied through manifestation. I have defied through my mind. So I get that things are facts, but I also get that some things aren't able to be tested over and over again to be proven yet. And I think that's a work in progress. And there's a lot of work being done to understand the concept of time more, because that's actually one of the least researched areas in science and in quantum physics, because time is so complex, and it's just an illusion with the amount of pressure we put on time. The whole 24 hours in a day and past, present, future, that's a human-made illusion. That's not science or truth or anything. That's just the way our culture works at this point. Like 50,000 years ago, it's not like humans had clocks and were living off of 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Their schedule and sense of time was very different. It might have been days and nights. Their sense of time was a different illusion. So getting comfortable with the fact that sometimes everything you know isn't always the only way to think about things. You can think about things in a different way if that serves you better. So for me, it did serve me better to let go of focusing on the clock. It got me more productive. It allowed me to release stress from myself, to not look at the days on a calendar. Today is November 20th or 21st actually. And for some people that is, oh my gosh, it's Thanksgiving next week, and then Christmas, and then New Year's, and oh my God, it's already 2020 and what have I done in 2019? Like that is all time induced stress, in my opinion. Like it's not even a word, I'm making this up as I speak. It is like, I think it's time induced anxiety and deadline induced anxiety that so many of us have, because it's just our normal. But instead of falling into that trap, take a step back and start to understand how you can redefine time, how you can redefine what your relationship with time is. Because instead of like, oh, I need this by tomorrow, that is really putting a pressure on the universe, and that's putting a pressure on you that you don't believe that you can obtain this. So when people say, I really want this to manifest fast and quick and easy and effortlessly, a lot of those intentions and desires show that there is a lot of distrust in the universe that you'll receive it, because you just want to receive it now. It's that instant gratification rather than being comfortable with waiting until you're perfectly ready. A lot of us think we're ready for things we're not really ready for, because once again, we don't know what we don't know. So one of your manifestations, it might be on its way, but you might not be fully ready for it. So the universe is giving you those lessons so that in maybe 2 weeks instead of 2 days, you'll be perfectly ready for it, and then you'll be able to experience it. So a lot of the times, I think the issue with time and deadlines and this pressure of productivity and wanting things super quickly is that we just feel like if we don't get it immediately, it's not possible. And I understand where that's coming from, which is this whole world of online shopping, Amazon Prime, like all of those things are so speedy in terms of what we're used to. It's like you can get deliveries instantly to your door within 2 minutes. You can access my course if you log into the portal. A lot of things are instant, but that doesn't mean that that's the way life works in general too. And the way to think about it is just by going back to nature. Go back to nature and think about the way it works. So with nature, things take time. Like when it rains, the cement takes a little bit of time to dry. When it snows, the snow takes a little bit of time to melt. When a seed is planted, it takes a little bit of time for the seed to grow. So things are not as instantaneous in nature, and we are products of nature. So whenever you feel like you're running out of time or there's not enough time, just go back and remember that you are a product of nature. You are a being of nature. You are nature, and nature has cycles. Nature has phases. Nature moves at its own pace. It's not on anybody else's schedule. It is not on anybody else's clock. It's not comparing itself to anybody else's clock. Nature is just moving the way it needs to. So just remember that you are also nature, and you're exactly where you need to be and moving at the exact pace you need to be. So when you start thinking of when can I manifest this thing and why isn't it coming, remember that nature is giving it to you when you are ready for it, when you deserve it, and when you have actually aligned with it. So to answer kind of the question of how do I know when my manifestations are coming, you don't know when they'll be coming. You don't know when. And the thing I like to think about is if I try and plan when my manifestation will come, it makes it really difficult on me because it puts stress on me and it limits the universe. Because what if you're planning for it to take 1 month and the universe is like, well, I can give it to you in a week. Then you're literally limiting the universe and making it take longer than it needs to. Of course, that can happen vice versa as well, and it totally does. But just remember that you might not know exactly when the best time is for you because there's so many other factors in play. The universe is probably working around so many different loopholes to get it to you. And just remember that your thought alone is enough to manifest something. Your intention is so strong, and when it is super strong, that is more than enough to manifest what you want. To help you amplify and maybe to help you quote unquote speed up your manifestation, check in with your vibration. Check in with how you would feel now versus when your experience or item manifests. What would you feel? Honestly, a lot of people think they're going to feel so much happier. They'll feel so much lighter, so much more excited. But to be honest, when I've manifested some of the biggest things in my life, I felt pretty much normal. I felt the same. I was happy, but I realized that I think I felt normal because it was right for me. It was so aligned with my highest self that it felt great. And because I expected it and I knew it was going to happen. I wasn't shocked. I didn't disbelieve it because I knew and I had confidence in it. It felt normal to me. So just remember that that's a really good trigger and a really good check-in with yourself, that if you're waiting for your manifestation and you're waiting for it to be in the future and you think that future moment will make you feel better, you can still channel that same emotion now. And I know that's overly said and that everybody says it, but it's super true. You can channel that same emotion now because emotions are like radio channels. There literally is a whole spectrum. You've listened to them all, you've felt them all, you've heard them all, and you literally can just change the channel and pick just by setting the intention. Oh, I'm happy, or I'm not anxious, or I'm at ease, I'm calm. That's just simply setting your attention, and your entire vibration will begin to shift very, very quickly without even any effort. So just remember, your efforts and your intentions are so strong. And once you can match the vibration of your manifestation, that manifestation will come to you way quicker than you expect. And it won't necessarily make you happy or happier to have that, because you're already happy because you're alive and you're here and you're blessed and abundant, that it won't feel like, oh my gosh, such a miracle. It'll be like, yep, this is right, because I'm not even surprised. And that's really what I've been noticing with myself. I'm at that point where things happen to me and I'm just not even surprised, because I'm just like, yep, I figured, like I knew this was going to happen. It's having full faith. And when you're surprised or amazed, those are really cool feelings. But think about it this way. When you're just so confident that you just know, how much more comfortable does that feel? How much does that make you feel at peace and confident and no anxiety and no stress? All of those things normally come from, we just want it now and here. And a really cool thing to think about is in the sense of time and experiencing your manifestations, you can experience them in your mind. Your mind has no idea what the difference is between something you're watching, something you're imagining, something you're remembering, and something that's actually happening to you. So because of that concept of time itself, is that your mind has no idea what the difference is. To your mind, time really does not exist. Time is just something we have created as a construct for us to go off of and to help with scheduling and stay a little more organized, which I think is wonderful. But when it starts to rule our life and we base everything off of time and how long and when it'll happen, that's when I feel like we start to lose a little bit of control and lose sight of what the real goal is. The real goal is for you to feel good, right? The real goal is for you to feel so confident, feel so at ease that everything is flowing to you. So you can let go of that illusion of time and start to create your manifestation in your mind. It will start to feel the exact same as it actually happening. And we feel like there's so many things that will change when those manifestations happen, but it's so already ingrained in your heart and in your mind, it just feels normal. You already know what you need to do. So when you find yourself focusing on time, remind yourself and just come back into your mind. Visualize on it. Play it out in your head. Script it in your journal as if it's already happened. And that really helps me let go of the fear of time and let go of the fear of being in a hurry and let go of not being too productive and being lazy. All of those are all time kind of constructs. So I hope that this really helps you start to shed that need to get things done super quick, be on those deadlines, and just understand how time really relates to the manifestation process. Because when we are noticing that something is not here, we're noticing the lack. When you focus on time and when it's going to come and how quickly it's going to come, you're just focusing on the lack of something. But as you know, energy is neither created nor destroyed. So everything in the universe that you ever want, and it's also the things that you don't want, it already energetically exists. Whether it exists as a thought or something that's already happened to you, it already exists. So you're not really recreating it, you're just bringing it closer to you. And so that's why if you focus on, oh, okay, energy is already here, I can start working with that energy and bring it into my life. That I think is such an empowering thought, rather than focusing on, well, I haven't gotten my job and I need it in January and it's not enough and I'm running out of time and things are really horrible and it's New Year time and I haven't done anything in 2019. Just the energy of those two statements is so different. I literally felt my heart starting to race when I was telling you those things. So imagine if that's always going on in your head. Start noticing the abundance that everything in the universe that you will ever experience has already been created energetically. So all you need to do is tap into that energy and you will start to experience it. That's all. It is so simple. It does not have to be complicated. And whenever you start to come thinking about time and being really scared about time and nervous, I have an affirmation for you. And I recommend you repeating it 2 to 3 times, whether you write it down or say it out loud. And the affirmation is, I let go of the need to be in a hurry. I am exactly where I need to be. So that is a really beautiful affirmation. If that's too long, you can just say, I'm exactly where I need to be right here, right now. Something along those lines. Those are my two kind of go-to mantras when I'm feeling a little rushed and I just feel like my heart is racing a little too fast and it needs to slow down. So I completely understand if you are in that mode, especially with holiday season. It's a little hustle and bustle, and you're allowed to take a step back and be comfortable being at ease and be comfortable doing nothing, because that is still doing something. So I hope this message was exactly what you needed to hear. And if it was, I would love if you messaged me or shared this on your Instagram or whatever form of social media, or even if it's leaving a review. Any of your support and feedback would truly, truly mean the world to me, because I read every single message from you guys, and I absolutely love being able to share my thoughts and my learnings with you, and I'm so, so glad they resonate with you. So thank you for sharing your energy with me for today, and I will be talking to you really, really soon. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Mwah. Bye. So, how did you like today's episode? I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed recording it. And before you leave, I wanted to just say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for spending some time with me. If this episode or any of my content has ever inspired you, it would mean the absolute world to me if you could leave a review in the iTunes podcast app and just share this with someone you care about. The more you guys leave reviews and share this with people, the more I am able to create more content for you, and that's what fuels me and keeps me going. I am so genuinely grateful for the time we shared today, and until next time, I'm sending you lots of love and lots of healing energy. Bye!